Lots of animals live in the trees, but kangaroos? We traveled to Papua New Guinea with a local biologist who's working hard to save these endangered animals.
Once I started studying the tree kangaroos at the zoo, I fell in love with them.
And the goal now is for villagers to lead the way in preserving the tree kangaroo population. And a Seattle coffee connection is helping.
We call it the Use Conservation Coffee.
Another connection, this one personal, will forever link me to this island's people, its beauty, and a new baby kangaroo. These stories and more coming up next on CityStream. Hi, I'm Penny LeGate, and welcome to a very special edition of CityStream from the Woodland Park Zoo. Come with me, I've got something really special to show you. Come on. Take a look at this adorable little creature. It's called a tree kangaroo. And you've never heard of one, you say? Well, don't feel badly because hardly anyone has. These are the two tree kangaroos here at the Woodland Park Zoo, but they're not currently on public view because they're in a special breeding and care enclosure. And the mama has a joey, a baby in her pouch, so hopefully someday we'll get to see her. Well, these endangered and beautiful animals come from a very far away place called Papua New Guinea. And right now we're going to take you there to meet a Seattle biologist who's doing everything she can. She's devoted her entire life to saving them. This is one of the last pristine cloud forests on Earth. It's found here in Papua New Guinea, a remote island nation north of Australia in the southwestern Pacific Ocean, and about as far away from Seattle as you can get. Papua New Guinea is a country of immense cultural and biological diversity. Tribal villages dot the land, many with their own languages and customs. In this dense mountainous rainforest, no roads, no airports. It's quite a journey to get here.
When I arrived in the cloud forests here in Papua New Guinea, this is really like my second home.
Second home and workplace for Dr. Lisa Dabek. Lisa is Senior Conservation Scientist at Seattle's Woodland Park Zoo. That's where she saw her first tree kangaroo back in 1986. And her life has never been the same.
And I had never heard of a tree kangaroo. I never knew anything about Papua New Guinea. But once I started studying the tree kangaroos at the zoo, I fell in love with them. And then when I learned that they were endangered in the wild, that drew me to Papua New Guinea.
In 1996, Lisa founded the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program in partnership with the Woodland Park Zoo. She travels to PNG at least twice a year. Her arrival, always cause for celebration. The villagers' welcoming ceremony is unlike anything you have ever seen. On this visit, Lisa brings along an honored guest.
Okay, me now start to wash this.
Alejandro Grajal, her boss, the CEO of the Woodland Park Zoo.
I come a long way, and this is very special. Thank you so much.
Our hike up to the research field camp takes us to elevation 10,000 feet. It is wet and cold up here. But Mother Nature's show is so worth it. Much of this area of northeastern PNG was unstudied when Lisa got here more than 20 years ago.
When I first came to Papua New Guinea, the Huon Peninsula was considered a scientific unknown for these mountain ranges. And so for biologists, it was really exciting to think about going into this area.
The Huon Peninsula is home to dozens of plant, animal, and bird species not found anywhere else in the world. There are about a dozen types of tree kangaroos in PNG, but the one that's captured Lisa's heart is the charismatic Matchies or Huon tree kangaroo.
You can't get much cuter than a tree kangaroo, really.
Yes, they're beyond cute, but very difficult to study.
Tree kangaroos are incredibly elusive. You cannot find them when you're in the forest, and so that's why we work so closely with the local hunters, because they're the only ones that can really find the animals.
Lisa employs local trackers and researchers who have deep knowledge of their forest home.
I saw tree kangaroos the first year I came into use, and then for 7 years after, all we saw were poop, and that's what we collected. But that was good enough for me. I knew the tree kangaroos were there.
That's dedication, to study just poop for 7 years. But now her team is equipped with sophisticated tracking devices, such as GPS collars.
Because of the rain falling down, we couldn't really tell whether this is from yesterday or the previous day.
Once detected, the trackers climb to extreme heights to scare the animal down to the ground. The furry little beasts are tucked into a bag to keep them calm. Then Lisa and a wildlife veterinarian gently measure and examine these teddy bear-like creatures.
Thick skin.
This time, they're also changing out their collars.
All ready.
This female is carrying a baby, known as a joey, in her pouch.
It doesn't look 6 months.
It doesn't look 6 months. It looks more like 5 months.
I've heard about tree kangaroos, and I have seen them in zoos, of course. But to see them in their natural environment with this kind of magnificent forest with all the mosses and ferns and orchids, it's almost poetic to see these animals in its own ecosystem. It's one of those inspiring moments that you live to live.
A successful capture and release is always emotional.
So it's a good day, but it's incredibly moving. And I'm just so grateful to be here with everyone.
Virtually nothing was known about tree kangaroos when Lisa first started her research more than 30 years ago. Now there's new information about their diets, how long the babies stay with moms, their range, and their mating habits.
What I would love is to be able to get that measurement.
Still, it's only the tip of the iceberg.
Trying to learn about tree kangaroos is a lifelong work.
And the work is also shifting beliefs. Head tracker Stanley Gasong once caught tree kangaroos for food, a cultural practice for hundreds of years.
Okay, thank you. Them knows last side miga big blah ma master. Big blah thank you blomilo risaro. Sim desla woklo. Bosim lugautim kam nong area blomi blah.
Tree kangaroos are the spirit of the cloud forest. I mean, they really represent what this cloud forest is about and how special this cloud forest is in the world.
Lots more coming up from Papua New Guinea. Here's what's next. Lisa Dabek's outreach stretches far beyond tree kangaroos. Find out how her program is empowering and uplifting the local people too. And learn how her program reaches all the way to the coffee you drink here in Seattle. That and more next. It was back in the mid-1980s that Dr. Lisa Dabek first fell in love with tree kangaroos. Now, she works here at the Woodland Park Zoo, but all of her field research is done in the remote country of Papua New Guinea. While her early focus was to save these endangered animals, she soon realized that it was going to be the local people, not her, who had to be the protectors of their forest and everything in it.
I always say that tree kangaroos brought me to Papua New Guinea, and it's the people that keep me here.
Decades ago, Lisa Dabek not only fell in love with the Huon tree kangaroo, but also with the people who inhabit this wild, untouched cloud forest.
I really believe that conservation is about people. So when we first came here over 20 years ago, it really became very obvious to me that we needed to look at the needs of the communities. And if we were asking community members to be stewards of their forests, we had to also look at what are their needs.
The villagers told Lisa their two biggest needs were education and health care. So the Tree Kangaroo Conservation Program is investing in these two areas as well. In education, there are local training scholarships that help attract and keep good teachers here. TKCP staffers also serve as classroom mentors.
If spider have a mouth,
The Junior Ranger program here is a huge hit. Village kids have a lot of fun learning about their unique land and how to protect it.
zero, white, and maybe green. Yes, green.
Lisa understands there is no healthy environment without healthy humans. So her program recently hired a full-time health coordinator. Francisca Yagama teaches hygiene and nutrition, works with community health workers, and tackles the most challenging health issue here.
We have a lot of mothers giving birth. There's no proper family planning. And you find that the average woman would have around 7 children.
In this meeting, trained midwife volunteers simulate a birth to show new class members what to do. In a highly patriarchal society, it is truly incredible that men are not only curious, but now wanting to participate. The villagers also expressed a need for economic opportunities, to have a livelihood so they could pay for school fees and health care. Lisa asked them what they wanted to do, and they said, grow coffee.
Coffee was introduced into this region in the 50s and 60s, but because there are no roads here, and the only way to get the beans out is by flying them out. It was too expensive, so a lot of people had abandoned.
So the program invested in a conservation coffee project. Here's how it works. 90% of the land is owned by the local people. They can join a coffee co-op by putting some of their land in a large conservation area. The preserve is called YUS, Y-U-S, an acronym for the 3 rivers that border the area.
The protected area, the use conservation area, the no hunting zone, is about 150,000 acres.
The no hunting zone now includes 52 villages. And this brings us to the other big Seattle connection.
And we were very fortunate that a small roaster in Seattle, Cafe Vita, heard and learned about our story because Cafe Vita had a relationship with Woodland Park Zoo. And when we told them about this conservation project, they got really interested in the conservation story. They invested in us, and we learned together, and we helped the farmers to grow their coffee better, to prune their coffee trees, to dry their coffee beans better. And now, after about 6 years, Cafe Vita is buying the coffee directly from the farmers. And we call it the use conservation coffee.
Lisa's team arranges to fly the beans out after harvest. So this special coffee from faraway Papua New Guinea eventually ends up in your cup here at home. From day one, Lisa knew it would take teamwork to accomplish her dream of saving tree kangaroos. She's deeply grateful to the villagers for allowing her to conduct research on their land. And this collaboration between people of two very different worlds has forged deep friendships.
Eki! Oh my gosh. Iman or Mary?
Mary.
We laugh together, we cry together, we have a lot of challenges, but I absolutely trust our local team members.
You know, it's funny how a darling little tree kangaroo has helped create healthier and better educated communities, and that these empowered people of Papua New Guinea are embracing stewardship of their unique and precious home.
My vision for this place, for this program, is that it will be led by local community members. And I envision a place where people can be healthy, the communities can be healthy, and the wildlife can be healthy. And I hope that there are healthy populations of tree kangaroos here.
Forever.
Forever.
Just ahead on CityStream, the CEO of the Woodland Park Zoo also made that long trip to Papua New Guinea with us. When we come back, we'll get his impressions. Don't go away. We're back now with more from the Woodland Park Zoo, and joining me now is the zoo CEO, Alejandro Grajal. It's so good to see you, Alejandro.
Great to be back.
Didn't we just have the best time in Papua New Guinea?
We had an amazing time.
Yeah.
I have to say, I travel a lot, but that trip was special.
Yeah, take away impressions of Papua New Guinea. What were they?
Well, you know, you go to many places around the world. This was an unusual place. So many cultures, pristine habitats, weird animals. You remember we saw an echidna. You know, it's things that even for me as a many million mile field biologist was pretty amazing, I gotta say.
What were your impressions of Lisa's project once you got to see it?
Well, you know, I've known her for 2 years, but to see her in her element and particularly see the respect that her team has for her and the deep communication and trust that they have, that's something hard to find just about everywhere, but particularly for a team that is basically across the Pacific Ocean. And for her to show that leadership and that connection, and her staff also to have that trust and admiration for her was amazing. And it was not just her staff, but also the communities. We visited several villages, and the whole village comes to see her. It was like a celebration.
Lisa's program is set up so well and is so all-encompassing. It's served as a model, right, for many, many different kinds of organizations to follow. And she's won all these international awards.
Yeah, particularly we're very proud of the award at the Earth Summit in 2016, where the United Nations gave her an award, selected 5 teams around the world of tens of thousands. She was selected for one of the most coveted awards by the United Nations.
Wow, 1 of 5.
1 of 5 among 10,000.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and she does such a great job as sort of a comprehensive approach. Right? Just go save the animals. You have to save the people and work with the communities, right?
It's about health, it's about animals, it's about conservation, it's about forestry, it's about women livelihoods, it's about economic development, and that's a winner.
Alejandro, I think a lot of people aren't aware too that the Woodland Park Zoo is involved all over the world in big conservation projects.
Yeah, I mean, we have projects in over 20 countries, and it's important to be authentic to our conservation portfolio, not just to say that we're doing it, but really have muddy boots on the ground. And really that means that when we're talking about tigers in Malaysia, we actually have a serious commitment, multi-year project about tigers and anti-poaching patrols and working with communities in Malaysia. When we're talking about tree kangaroos, like Lisa's project, we are in Papua New Guinea. And particularly here in the Pacific Northwest, we are really committed to working with our own ecosystem. Remember, this is another cloud forest.
Right.
So the things that we're doing with western pond turtles or wolverines or silver spot butterflies, these are really important for us. Is the story of how are we relating to our own ecosystem here.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to take all of us to try to save them, I think. Yeah, more information is at zoo.org.
Yes.
Pretty easy to remember.
And also our social media, it's all bursting at the seams.
I know, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Alejandro, one last question. When are we going back to
Oh,
PNG?
let's go soon. We had so much fun.
We're ready to go. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro. Coming up next, some final reflections on this island, its natural beauty, precious wildlife, and the warm heart of its people. You know, as reporters, we rarely get to share our personal reflections and feelings about the places we get to visit. And I've been so lucky to have traveled to so many exotic, wonderful places in my lifetime. But the one destination that's been at the very top of my wish list since I can remember was Papua New Guinea. And I finally got there. Since I can remember, Papua New Guinea has called to me. So far away, so wild, so rarely visited. You can imagine how exciting it is to get my very first glimpse of the country out the airplane window. In the capital city of Port Moresby, our group's invited to lunch with the U.S. ambassador to PNG, Catherine Ebert Gray. Then it's another flight north to the city of Leh, followed by a glorious chopper ride to the cloud forest, which is a high-elevation rainforest. Like an eagle, we soar over the lush mountains, marveling at a land that time has forgotten. The villagers greet us with song and dance, wearing elaborate costumes made from moss, leaves, and ferns. Each visitor is welcomed with a bilam, a handmade bag carried by young and old in PNG. A few precious fruits are tucked inside of mine. It's a dream come true, waiting for a long time to be here. So thank you very, very much. Thank you. The travelers include tree kangaroo scientist Lisa Dabek, Woodland Park Zoo CEO Alejandro Grajal, wildlife veterinarian Carol Essen from Cairns, Australia, and videographers extraordinaire Joe and Nim Pontecorvo. So how in the world do I describe my first step into the rainforest? Walking from the clearing into dense greenness, I am totally unprepared for the feeling that comes over me. It is a welcoming, a feeling of coming home. Deep wisdom here, gentle and ancient. Words simply can't express it. 10,000 feet up, we settle into camp. The toilet is a hole in the ground up a slippery mud hill. Every meal, greens and rice. It's very chilly. We wear long undies and down parkas, but by contrast, the locals scramble around in their meager clothing, many barefoot. But at sundown, the trackers gather around their cozy communal fire, one night clamoring to see Alejandro's bird book.
Well, you say, what about this black one here?
Another evening, sharing their songs. Trekking through this dense, spongy-bottomed forest is not easy. The steep terrain is chock full of sinkholes, tangly vines, and fallen trees. But the payoff is seeing a Huon tree kangaroo in the wild. High up in the trees, they're perfectly camouflaged in the moss and leaves. During a capture, I am allowed to gently touch one, their beautiful fur soft as mink. A new baby is discovered growing in this female's pouch. Lisa decides to name it Mara, after my daughter who passed away several years ago. I know Mara's smiling. Nature has clearly had a field day in Papua New Guinea. The creatures here exotic and wondrous. Earlier in our trip, I get to hold an adorable baby echidna, one of only 2 mammals in the world that lays eggs. At a wildlife park, we see the spotted cuscus and crazy colorful birds of all kinds, such as the rare bird of paradise and the large and powerful cassowary. And the people of Papua New Guinea? They thrive in tight communities, in tidy thatched huts. The villagers, friendly, generous, and resourceful. It did take some getting used to the fact, though, that everyone carries a machete, even the toddlers. But what I love the most is their wonderful sense of humor. One young fellow in particular steals my heart, Gibson. He becomes my little shadow. We don't have to talk much, we just hang out, and he smiles a lot. Gibson lives in the village of Yawan, but it should be called Paradise. Just look around here. We wrap up our trip exploring PNG's underwater wonderland. The country is a world-renowned diving destination with its warm, clear waters and abundant marine life. Off the island of New Britain are spectacular varieties of corals and fishes. These cute little clownfish are my favorites. The big highlight, though, a dolphin show. They appear out of nowhere to chase our dive boat. Then we humans join them. Clinging to a boom, we glide along the surface, playfully accompanied by our new friends. In 3 weeks, I've made enough memories in Papua New Guinea to last a lifetime. Yet, as I turn towards home, I'm already yearning for the day of return. It would take several lifetimes to experience all that Papua New Guinea has to offer. May wise stewardship preserve this magical place for generations to come. Here at the Woodland Park Zoo, you can learn all kinds of things about rainforests all over the world, why they're important, what some of the threats are, and what we can all do to help protect them. It's going to take every single one of us to help protect these biodiverse wonderlands. We'll be right back. Well, that wraps up our very special edition of CityStream from the Woodland Park Zoo. And if you'd like more information about Lisa Dabek's tree kangaroo conservation program, just go to zoo.org/TKCP. And if you're just dying to try this delicious Papua New Guinea coffee, just stop in at your nearest Cafe Vita. You can drink it there or take it home with the beans in the bag like I did. Now, I'd like to thank you so much from the very bottom of my heart before we go for going on this very special journey with me to Papua New Guinea. I'm Penny LeGate, and for CityStream, I'll see you next time. To learn more about CityStream and the Seattle channel, find us on Facebook and Twitter. You can also watch us on our Comcast HD channel 321 and on Wave Cable channel 721.